Welcome to StoicInspired. This video is about Stoicism, a philosophy that's been around for a long time, over 480 years in ancient Greece and Rome. It was popular with all kinds of people, from regular folks to the rich and powerful. Why? Because it helps when life gets tough, when you're scared, feeling down, or angry. You might have heard people being called stoic. That's because Stoicism is all about being brave and calm when life throws challenges at you. Courage is not just physical, but especially moral. The courage to stand up and do the right thing. Justice is what tells you what the right thing is, how to interact with other people, how to treat other people. And temperance is the idea that you should always do things in right measure, not overdo them nor underdo them. Imagine being stranded far from home without money or possessions. For Zeno of Cyprus, this happened around 300 BCE when he was shipwrecked in Athens and he lost everything. But instead of giving up, Zeno wandered into a bookshop, got interested in reading about Socrates, and decided to study with the city's philosophers. He later created Stoicism, a philosophy about virtue, tolerance, and self-control. The word Stoicism comes from where Zeno and his students met to discuss ideas. Stoicism teaches that the world works based on cause and effect, forming a rational structure called logos. We can't always control what happens, but we can control how we react. It's not about dreaming of a perfect world, but dealing with the world as it is and trying to improve ourselves through four virtues: practical wisdom, temperance, justice, and courage. There are two important Stoic thinkers. One is Seneca, a writer who lived a long time ago. He had a difficult job as a tutor to the infamous Roman Emperor Nero. The other is Marcus Aurelius, who was a kind and thoughtful emperor. He wrote a famous book called the Meditations. Seneca, a famous Roman Stoic, argued for the humane treatment of slaves and stressed our shared humanity. Stoicism doesn't mean being passive. It believes that only people who've worked on themselves can make positive changes in the world. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, used Stoicism during his reign and through personal challenges. His writings later inspired Nelson Mandela during his long imprisonment in the struggle for racial equality in South Africa. While the formal Stoic institution faded, its ideas live on. Christian theologians admired its focus on virtues, and it influenced modern psychology and self-help. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, based on finding meaning in life even in tough situations, is one such example. Epictetus, another Stoic, taught that our suffering comes from how we judge events, a principle that resonates with modern therapies like rational emotive behavioral therapy. Stoicism has had a lasting impact, teaching us that even in difficult times, we can find strength and meaning in our lives. Epictetus was one of the most important Stoic philosophers of antiquity. He was a slave. He was born in Hierapolis, in modern-day Pamukkale, in Turkey. He was acquired. In fact, his name means acquired. We don't know his real name. Epictetus just means acquired. And he was brought to Rome to the court of the Emperor Nero, where he did pretty well. Eventually, he was freed. He was, a bright guy. So he started going through the streets of Rome, preaching Stoicism. And for his troubles, he got punched on the nose. So he figured that wasn't a good approach. It was in his power to change the approach. So he started over, and he established his own school, which was very successful, until the Emperor Domitian kicked out all the Stoics out of Rome, because he did not appreciate their speaking truth to power, as we would say today. So Epictetus moved and went to Nicopolis in northwestern Greece, re-established his school, and became one of the most famous teachers of antiquity. The reason I like Epictetus is because he's blunt, and he has a sarcastic sense of humor. He says in the Discourses, "I'll have to die. If it is now, well, then I die now. If later, then now I will take my lunch. Since the hour for lunch has arrived, and dying, I will tend to later. You know you're going to die. That isn't under your control. Lunch, on the other hand, is under your control. Now, I told you about the dichotomy of control being one of the two fundamental pillars of Stoicism. Here's how Epictetus himself explains it. He says, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." And note, if you stop for a second and think about it, it's like that is weird. He's saying that my body, my property, my reputation are not in my power. What do you mean? I can decide to go to the gym and eat healthy. Of course my body's under my power, unless a virus strikes you down, unless you have an accident and you break your leg. The idea is that you can do things, you can make decisions about your health, your reputation, etc., etc. But ultimately, you don't control the outcome. So what does that mean in practice? It means that we should try to walk through life by internalizing our goals, not worry about the outcomes, because those are outside of our control, but worry about our intentions and our efforts, because those are very much under our control. One of the beautiful metaphors that the Stoics introduced was that of an archer. Imagine that you are trying to hit a target. What is under your control? Well, the practice of archery. You can practice for hours and hours. You can choose the best bows and arrows that are available to you. You can take care of those bows and arrows. You can focus up until the second in which you let the arrow go. But after that, things are completely outside of your control. A gust of wind can ruin your best shot. The target may move, especially if he's an enemy soldier, and you missed. So what do you do? According to Cicero, the actual hitting of the mark would be to be chosen, but not to be desired. So you do not attach your own self-esteem to the outcome. You only attach it to what is under your control, to your attempt. In practice, in today's life, these can change the way you look at pretty much everything. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say you're up for a promotion for your job. Now, the normal thing to do would be to worry about whether you're going to get the promotion or not. According to the Stoics, that's the wrong way to look at it. The promotion itself is outside of your control. Your boss may have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed. He's upset. He's got something else on his mind, and the interview is not going to go well. Or maybe somebody else deserves the promotion better than you do, even though you did well. And again, that's not up to you. What is up to you, of course, is to prepare the best you can for your interview, to put together the best resume possible, to work really hard to actually, in fact, deserve that promotion. That's the locus of your control. That's where you should focus your efforts, or think in terms of relationships. You know, everybody wants to be loved, but that's not up to us. It's up to the person who may or may not love us. What's up to us is to be the most lovable person, to be affectionate, to be there for them, whether they decide to stick with us or not under our control. So if you take this seriously, Epictetus says, you will, in fact, have a happy life, because a great part of happiness lies in the serenity, into the idea that you always walk through life by knowing that you've done your best and that nothing else could be done on top of that. He says, if you have the right idea about what really belongs to you and what does not. In other words, what you do control and what you don't control. You will never be subject to force or hindrance. You will never blame or criticize anyone, and everything you do will be done willingly. And this would be a significantly better world than the one in which everybody goes around blaming other people for what they don't have control over. Stoicism can help us deal with two common problems: anxiety and anger. When you're anxious, well-meaning people might tell you to cheer up and not worry. But Stoics didn't like that. They thought it's better to prepare for the worst, instead of hoping everything will be okay. They believed in thinking, it might be really bad, but I'll handle it. For example, if you have to face a tough situation, like going to prison or losing your job, Stoicism teaches you to stay strong and believe in your own strength. And if you're really struggling, Stoics even talked about suicide as an option, although it's a sad one. Stoics also had a way to deal with anger. They said that anger happens when you expect things to be different from how they turn out. So they advised expecting the worst sometimes. That way, you won't get as angry when things go wrong. Imagine you don't get angry when it rains because you expected it. It's like that for everything. Don't just expect good things. Expect bad things too, like betrayal, mistakes, or unfairness. Stoicism is about not letting sudden problems ruin your peace of mind. Instead, you learn to handle life's challenges calmly. One thing Seneca said as he was led to his death by Nero's guards is worth remembering. Why cry over bits of life? The whole of life calls for tears. We can learn a lot from the Stoics in our daily lives. If you like my video, then subscribe it for more amazing content.